Fast forward, they're signing the Hunter Biden laptop is fake letter. And I do believe they're gonna try to lock him up in prison. If you want people at a cocktail party or, at any kind of a setting to pay attention to you, talk about, catastrophism. No one knows what's gonna happen in 10 years. No one knows what's gonna happen in a year. But the ones that are still in, I would talk to them. I would say, how is it over there? And they just give me their very general assessments. But it's unsurprising, I'm sure, for everyone to hear. It's woke, just like so much of the rest of the federal government is at this point in terms of policy. And without the war on terror, or whatever you want to call it, to be the primary mission, I think people are much more concerned with some of the bureaucratic, both navel-gazing and activism that's going on. Real concerns.
How bad is it over there?
I mean, I had a friend who was going to come out, and he reached out to me, and he said he was all fired up to come out. I mean, when I was in the CIA, I actually created something called the Freedometer, which was it was always like a poster we put up in the office, and it was like measuring freedom. It was like Team America was like very high, and like Reagan, and then you kind of go down this, and it was a joke, right? And everyone thought it was pretty funny. I mean, we just went. It was like board analyst guy stuff, and created the Freedometer or the Freedom Meter, some people called it. And I remember that like one of the sort of more woke managers one day was like, "You guys realize this is a Hatch Act violation, right?"
A what?
Hatch Act violation. Federal law. Hatch Act. And I was like, "It's a Hatch Act violation? Like, it's a fucking joke. Like, what are you talking about?" Oh, but because Reagan was on the poster and like a positive, I mean, there were like freedom fries were on there like low. I mean, it was a joke. It was a joke.
Yeah.
No sense of humor. No sense of humor allowed. And it wasn't that it was inappropriate. It's that it was it was a violation of law because it was in a federal office, and it like had something positive to say about a long dead Republican president, basically, among all the other things. So I was aware of this idea there, right? I was aware that this was a thing, because everyone was. I mean,
when was that?
Guys in my office. Oh, that would be like beginning of the Obama administration, 2009. Yeah, that's when that went down. Yeah, 2009. And I remember that, and I was like, and we took it down. We're like, all right, like whatever, like fine. I don't want, because in a lot of these places, unfortunately, some of the worst people are the ones that do the internal security stuff, as you well know. I mean, I just, it's like the worst dean of your high school, like the worst high school dean imaginable, but actually given the powers of the federal government. They never find anyone who's actually doing anything. Like, they never actually stop any of the leaks or any of the bad stuff. They just harass everyone who's actually trying to do their job and be a good person and wants to be a patriot and serve. They just annoy the shit out of those people.
How fast do you think this happened?
What?
From
the transformation that I saw. So, I mean, I wasn't there very long, so you'd have to say, very long at all, you'd have to say it was rapid. But, I mean, I can tell you that I increasingly felt uncomfortable in that place with the start of the Obama administration, not because I wasn't willing to serve the mission under a Democrat president, but just because it was almost like the attitude of a lot of people, including people in positions of influence in there, was, the idiot king is gone and now the glorious monarch shall reign. And it just was bizarre to me. I was like, what are you guys even talking about here? Like, we're in the Afghanistan war. Obama has no idea what the hell he's doing. Like, we're going to surge, but we're going to end the surge before we ever say when we're ending the surge while we're doing it. I mean, the whole thing was just a complete mess. And I think you just started to see some of the elements of what now you call the woke or the more radical left asserting themselves inside the institution. And I mean, you can see this because some of the people who are running it then, fast forward, they're signing the Hunter Biden laptop is fake letter. So I'm not, this isn't something that I've just come up with on my own out of nowhere, and there's no basis for this. And you had people that were running these institutions became liars, became propagandists for the regime, for the collective, for the apparatus, and did tremendous damage to it. And they're doing this. The decision to politicize everything has been a long time in the making, but in this country, the move to politicize everything has rapidly accelerated over the last 15 years.
That's, yeah, I feel like it's rapidly accelerated in the last 3 years.
Well, for sure. I think it's almost like a boulder rolling down the hill, right? Like it takes a little bit, but now it's getting to its maximum velocity.
I mean, I was having a discussion about this a couple days ago with somebody, and they think that they're losing all these agendas. They think that they're losing, and that's why it's going full force. We're not stopping. We're just going for cat's out of the bag.
They think the left thinks they're losing? Oh man, I wish whoever this is, I got to go back and listen to some Shawn Ryan podcast episodes here.
It wasn't on the show.
Oh, it wasn't on the show.
No,
People you
wasn't on
talk
the
to,
show.
okay? Because I was going to say, I think that they increasingly view themselves as unconstrained by the rules of the game as we've known them for a very long time. I think that the push doesn't come from a place of their ideas are weak, their arguments are weak. So that's always going to be an insecurity. But in terms of their power within the system, I mean, they're about to indict again. I should say, further indict the Republican nominee for the presidency. They're going to try to take him out using the judicial system as a weapon, and I do believe they're going to try to lock him up in prison. And that, to me, that's what you do when you think that you can finish off the opposition. That's not what you do when you're worried that you're not going to be able to, keep it all going or keep it all going together.
They were saying that the agenda's been accelerated out of desperation, and it's showing signs of desperation now, and that only happens when you're about to lose.
Well, I hope that they're right.
I hope they're right.
Because that's positive, at least, right? I mean, if that's really the the position that they find themselves in, I would want to push more on that. By the way, I love optimistic narratives about where the country is going. I want to hear them all the time because I live in this world of constantly facing what I think the problems are and trying to help people who have their own lives they're leading, their jobs they're doing, their families they're raising, help them understand exactly what's happening in these different places, and then get people as motivated and energized as I can to do whatever they can in their own way to tackle it, right? So that means you're looking at a lot. I'm looking at problems in the country more than anything else. I mean, I could sit here and talk about a lot of great things about America too, as we all could. But so narratives that we're heading in an optimistic direction, I'm certainly very open to. I just think the data points indicate the opposite, which is that they're ascendant. And I mean, so here's an example, right? John Fetterman, senator from Pennsylvania. You can look at this and say it's so pathetic that they put forward this guy who is neither intelligent nor charismatic nor accomplished, or kind of wears the schlumpy hoodie everywhere and the whole thing, and obviously had a major stroke and was not really capable, not really up for doing the job that he was doing, or that he would be doing in the Senate. You can say that's a desperation move, or you can say that's a what the hell are you going to do about it move. We can get away with this too. What are you going to do? What's your move now? And I tend to fall in the latter category. I tend to think that the brazenness doesn't come from desperation from the left. It comes from a sense that they are empowered and getting what they want. I mean, that's how I see it.
I'm very similar to you. I look at all the problems and I don't, as much as I hate to say this on the show, I don't see a lot of positivity. And so, I'm looking for the positive narratives as well. And you're a lot more spun up on this than I am, because of your show and everybody that you are around and the access that you have. But I just wanted to hear what you thought about that.
No, sure. No, look, I love hearing points of view that can make me feel more hopeful about the future of the country. I think it's necessary too, because you can get. I mentioned Michael Crichton before, and he had an insight. This is for everyone, I'm sure everyone knows, but just, wrote Jurassic Park, created the show ER, wrote Andromeda Strain, Congo, Rising Sun. I mean, it was just like a bestseller machine back in the 80s and 90s. And he gave an interview once where he said, what you have to understand is that catastrophism is always interesting, and it goes beyond interesting to people. He means it catches people's mindset, catches their attention. He said that it's at a point where if you want people at a cocktail party or in kind of a setting to pay attention to you, talk about catastrophism, because if you talk about how good things are, they'll get mad at you. And I always thought that was so interesting, because everyone's generally so focused on the possibility of collapse and destruction and challenges your brain, right? We've from an evolutionary standpoint, we're supposed to survive, reproduce. Like that's stay safe, stay fed, reproduce. Like that's what we're supposed to do. And in our modern society, we don't really have it anymore. So we have these the amygdala, like the lizard brain, and we have these things that are honed to keep us alive that instead start focusing on like what's going to happen with that next promotion, or what's going to happen with climate change, or people get all these fixations. But it's hard, because if you try to tell people that overall, like I always say, I'm very optimistic about the day to day. I'm pessimistic about the future. So I don't know if that's helpful for people, but I mean, I think you make the most you can out of the relationships and what you are in your life to your community, the people around you. You take care of yours. You push. You live in truth. You push for your community, your country as much as you can. And, no one knows what's going to happen in 10 years. No one knows what's going to happen in a year.
Hey, everybody, I'm Shawn Ryan. Click here to subscribe to the Shawn Ryan Show YouTube channel for the hottest and most compelling interviews that you will not see anywhere else. I've also made a playlist of all the previous SRS episodes, so they're easy to find. You can find that right here.